In this video, you will learn 3 tactics to defeat a sleek backfoot boxer. When we watch these fighters, we are amazed by their effortless defense. But when we are fighting them, they are an elusive nightmare that is always just outside of our punching reach. Sleek backfoot fighters manage to get ahead earlier on the fight, and before we realize it, we end up chasing them, making things worse. Since this style does best when being pushed back, the harder we attack, the better they do. In this video, we will break down how this style works, and with this knowledge, we will devise 3 tactics that will help you to defeat a sleek backfoot boxer. These tactics will help you to steal their momentum, punch when they are most vulnerable, and take away their stamina. Let's start by defining what exactly is a sleek backfoot boxer. Sleek refers to this fighter's best asset, their smooth and effortless defense. Their priority is to make their opponents miss. This mindset makes them frustrating to fight. These fighters often break down their opponents psychologically rather than physically. When we talk about backfoot boxers, it just means the position on which they are strongest while they are moving backwards. These fighters usually take control of the fight by giving away the center of the ring and baiting you into chasing them. Moving backwards is how they set up their counters and outpoint their opponents. Basically, the more they get chased, the better their defense and counters do. Being boxers rather than punchers just means that these fighters focus more on their defense than on their offense, and don't focus on physically beating down their opponents. They are looking to outpoint you. These boxers gain confidence from making you miss, and once they get the ball rolling, it's hard to take away their confidence. Now that we know exactly what kind of style we're dealing with, let's talk about the 3 main techniques that these fighters use to defeat their opponents. The first element is their footwork. They use it to build their momentum and control the fight. This footwork is like an engine. As long as these fighters are in motion, they are harder to hit. If they stop moving, their defense stops working as well. Their footwork becomes more effective as they move backwards. It's with this backward motion that these fighters look their best. The second element is their defense. These fighters have great reflexes and are quick to react and move away from incoming attacks. They make you feel like every punch you throw goes to waste. And the more punches you miss, the more frustrated you become. And they use this frustration to further take you out of your game. This is why most of these fighters use showboating. When they showboat, their opponents get irritated, and this makes them to rush their work, making their attacks more predictable. This, in turn, makes them miss more punches, makes them more irritated, restarting the whole cycle. The third and last element is their endless stamina. These fighters have the energy to box circles around you through the whole fight. Their defense and sharpness does not seem to slow down. Since these fighters rarely slow down, once they get ahead in the fight, it's really hard to get the momentum back. So, now that we have a clear idea of what kind of fighter we're dealing with, and we know what 3 techniques gives them their strengths, let's look at 3 techniques that will help us to neutralize their strengths. First, let's take away their momentum by slowing down their footwork. As we saw before, these fighters build their momentum by moving backwards and staying on their toes. To counter this backward motion, the first tactic is to stop chasing them. Let's see why this works. As we saw earlier on the video, chasing these fighters just makes things worse. The success of these fighters depends on us reaching in and walking to their shots. So, by not chasing and keeping a solid distance, we force them to do something really uncomfortable, to reach in with their punches. We also shoot down their dynamic footwork by forcing them to stay put. Since they are longer in one spot, they have less momentum to move and counter. By keeping a healthy distance, we also avoid walking into their shots, helping us to keep the fight even, allowing us to build our own momentum. Also, by forcing them to reach in with their punches, we make it easier to see their punches so we can defend and counter. Let's see some examples of this technique in action. In this example, we see Canelo cutting the ring on Saunders. The first thing to notice is the distance Canelo keeps as he moves forward. This allows him to defend the punches. Even if Saunders tries to provoke Canelo into stepping in, Canelo steps just enough to cut the ring without sacrificing defense. This example is further down on the fight. Canelo is cutting the ring at the same base distance. But now, Canelo has the timing to try to counter Saunders. As Saunders is moving backwards trying to draw Canelo in, Canelo is doing his best to not fall for it. And when he does, he steps back and makes sure to not give away any more points. Saunders tries to provoke Canelo by attacking, but he gets countered. And he tries to provoke him even more by throwing jabs, but Canelo is not falling for it, keeping his distance. This is one of the final sequences before the fight is stopped. Notice how Saunders is more static. He is being forced to stay grounded with Canelo, and this is taking away his loose movements. Saunders can land a punch here and there, but since Canelo is not chasing him, Saunders is struggling to build the momentum to win the fight. Basically, by slowing down Saunders' backward motion, Canelo also slowed down Saunders' defense and offense. Once Saunders slowed down, Canelo was able to pick his punches and stop the fight. Now that we took their momentum, the next step is to take away their defense by punching when they are most vulnerable. And that is when they are punching at us. When we punch at them first, we are just reaching in at an opponent that is already moving back, making it harder for us to land clean. Punching when they punch gives us a small window of opportunity to hit them as they move towards us, putting them within our reach. This tactic works for two reasons. The first reason is that every fighter is most vulnerable when they are punching. Our hands leave our face, and for a moment, all our weight is moving towards our opponent. Getting punched at this moment increases the impact of the counter. This is why we use setups before attacking, to avoid walking into our opponent's counters. Second, when we punch, these fighters use the opening of our punch to move around and counter. Even with good setups, these fighters can still manage to outmaneuver us. But when they punch, we know that for one moment they are in front of us, moving towards us. This window of opportunity creates the moment we need to punch. And this is the reason why, even if they are quicker than us, we can still hit them. Since they are moving towards us, they are cutting the distance that our punch has to travel. This small window of opportunity is simply your best chance to commit to an attack. Punching with a slick boxer is a tactic that's been used for many decades now, and has worked against notable fighters who use this style. One of these fighters is Muhammad Ali. In this example, he's moving backwards, making his opponent miss as usual. When his opponent gets on the ropes, he starts to let his hands go, creating the opportunity to get countered. And his most famous knockdown against Frazier also features Ali reaching in with a punch while Frazier punches with him. Another slick boxer knocked down like this was Prince Naseem Hamed. In this example, we see him moving backwards, keeping everything under control. Everything looks normal until his opponent punches with him, landing a clean shot. And then the follow-up shots cause the knockdown. In this example, Naseem also starts with the fight under his control, making his opponent miss and punching him on the corner. His opponent punches him right after he finishes punching, allowing him to cut the distance to land his shot. As you can see, no matter how good is your opponent's defense, every fighter is vulnerable when they are punching. Now, I have to make a huge disclaimer about this tactic. Even if all these examples feature knockdowns, you cannot expect to knock down your opponent every time you use this tactic. Use this tactic to score points and take away your opponent's confidence. Think of this tactic as a tool to get ahead on the fight, not to finish it. And remember, this tactic only works when you establish your distance, as we saw in the first tactic. Only when you have proper distance, you can see your opponent coming, allowing you to punch with them. Now, up to this point, if you're implementing the first two tactics, you should be able to get the fight under your control. But if your opponent has really good stamina, you won't be able to relax. As long as your opponent has energy, they will try to fight you back and take away the control of the fight. For this reason, taking away your opponent's stamina, it's crucial to slow them down, to keep the control through the end. And the best way to take away your opponent's stamina is by working the body. This idea is well known by all boxers. If you consistently work the body, you will slowly take away their legs and stamina. Bam Rodriguez knew that in order to defeat Edwards, he needed to work the body earlier and consistently, every time he had the chance. This consistency in working the body through the fight paid off by slowing down Edwards. Edwards started the fight quick and responsive. He used his legs to step in and out of range, and he was quick at countering Bam. But Bam kept working the body when he could. By the 7th round, Edwards was forced to sit and exchange with Bam for longer, since he didn't have the stamina to keep moving. This benefited Bam, since the longer exchanges allowed him more opportunities to work the body and keep wearing down Edwards. By the end of the fight, all the accumulated damage and the lack of footwork eventually led to the counter that allowed Bam to stop the fight. Even if your opponent doesn't show it right away, body shots are always going to slow down your opponent. The same way that Edwards didn't slow down right away against Bam. He kept his aggressiveness and demeanor through the fight. But still, the body work was enough to take away his legs. And, as we have seen through the video, slick boxers' defense and counters lose effectiveness without their footwork. If you want to learn more tactics to win your fights, check out this video. In this video, I talk about 3 strategies that Olympic boxers use to catch the judges' attention and keep that attention to win the fight. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might need it. Thanks for watching.